All right, welcome to Talking Ball with Bill Flowers. Bill Flowers here for his weekly segment talking about Ole Miss football and maybe something a little bit else this time. We just spent about 5 minutes talking about the Las Vegas Raiders and what's going on with there and did some Urban Meyer and a whole bunch of stuff. But Ole Miss a 27-14 winner over Liberty. They've got Texas A&M and game day coming to town. And my first question to you is, have you heard from anybody? Is there any type of former player thing that is happening for this weekend?
No, I know they want a lot of players to come back. They really do. And I would love to go back. I've got a business function that I've got Friday night. But just again having three young kids and coming over for the day, it's just tough. But I know that they're really wanting to get players back. They were really excited about the turnout for the Manning presentation. So I hope they have a great turnout, and I hope they're doing stuff. I haven't gotten any direct invitation of, hey, this is what we're doing specifically for players to come back. I think that's one thing that I wish they kind of would do, would be more of like, hey, for games like this where they want people to come back, like they did for the Manning stuff, is they did a little bit of they did something like, they had an open bar for us and it was just something very small, but I think that would be nice, and it would bring more players back if they did say, hey, you know what, a couple times a year we are going to have maybe a little ballroom or a bar or whatever, kind of sanctioned off for a couple hours just for you guys to come back and know we appreciate you guys for these couple games. And then kind of really try to focus on, getting that going. Because I just think with life, it's hard to just say, hey, you know what, we're having a great season. Hey, A&M games, coming up. Why don't you come back for it? A lot of times you have to kind of plan in advance for stuff like that, especially with Oxford. Just getting rooms, it's hard. But I hope they have a great turnout with people coming back. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if they have this. I don't know what they do, but they just need to have a representative for like an elite M club type person where there's a list of 200 players, and they are just the contact and everything gets set up. And they, like I said, twice a year they set it up. Next year can be Alabama and Mississippi State, and just go.
No, I think that's what they need to do is mark out those games and do it in advance and say, hey, you know what, here's the itinerary. We're just going to have the first 300 people that I don't think 300 people are going to come back, but just because of life in general. But maybe they would, but just have those things set up, have it known in advance, so you can get a hotel room, or have hotel rooms kind of blocked off, which would be hard to do, but to have good communication, because even when I was coming back for the Eli event, I still really wasn't really sure what was going on outside the Eli event. There was the Eli event, but there was also a weekend. This was a weekend that they kind of parlayed bringing ex-players back. So when I got to Oxford for a Friday night thing with Eli, I didn't I was kind of made known right before heading to Oxford that there was something for the players that they were doing, and it was the first time they had done it. And when we were there, they expressed it, how much they liked it. The M Club and the university representatives were like, wow, we should do this more often. We're like, yeah, absolutely. We love Oxford. We love to come back as much as possible. But you just have to make sure that you have things that people can put on a calendar and have good communication on.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the game. Moving on to it, change it away. Ole Miss defeated Liberty 24-14. Ole Miss scored more points than Liberty would through the whole game at the 13-minute mark of the second quarter. So there's going to be people that talks about how close it was and how bad it was and doom and gloom and everything that's going on. But the reality is that wasn't the case. I'll tell you a couple of flashes that made me feel good. John Rice Plumlee in the slot, his production, him having a game, that made me feel better. Dennis Jackson kind of becoming that game breaker type player made me feel a little bit better. Now, we'll talk about running the ball maybe a little bit later, but those two players are flashing ways that I'm getting a little bit excited about this Texas A&M game.
No, I definitely agree, but not to burst your bubble and not to be a Debbie Downer, but Hugh Freeze, I to help Willis out. I think he was trying, because there were so many scouts there, tried to establish the game early. And if you're going to miss, you're not beating them through the air. You're going to beat them. And I think that's what happened, was that at the end of the second half, the first half, he said, we abandoned this. Let's try to do pass first, run second. And so, I think we all know what's our Achilles heel is don't run the ball down the road. And they changed the narrative of the second half, which was, we're going to run the ball at you, Ole Miss, and then we're going to throw the ball. And so I think that was the two halves.
Yeah, a little bit. I can see that. Dual threat quarterbacks have made us pay all season. KJ Jefferson had an unbelievable day. Bo Nix was he really performed well against us. So they went into this game. It's like Malik Willis will not beat us. So they did everything they did. They sacked him 9 times. He had 27 carries for like 72 yards, 3 picks, did everything, and they just said, we're not good enough to stop everything. We're not Georgia. So if we decide we're going to take away Malik Willis, there are going to be openings on the edges in the scheme the way it's designed to the running back. Now, Liberty was taking like 7 minutes to score a touchdown. I don't know if you look at what happened in the third quarter into the end of the game, Liberty had to play perfect the whole second half to catch up and end that game. With the time of possession, it was going with those drives. It just wasn't going to happen. These are G5 players at that position with a really elite quarterback.
Well, yes, but at the end of the day, you're looking at this from a big picture. You're about to play A&M, who rushed for over 200 yards against Auburn. It's not going to take them 7 minutes compared to Liberty. So, in my opinion, you're looking at it from a half full perspective, a glass half full. But in my opinion, what they're going to need to do against A&M is they're going to need to minimize as many ways to be beat. So, like what you just said, that they realize that we're not Georgia, and we can't stop every angle. You're going to have to pick our battle. And so, if I'm sitting there, and again, I'm not a coach, but if I'm sitting there, our defensive coordinator, I'm abandoning the pass. And I'm going to say, I feel like my safeties and my corners are much better suited to play a one-on-one, man-to-man a defensive scheme versus all zone and letting my up front, my interior line take on man-to-man. Like I would not put all my chips in on the defensive line. I'm going to take everything, and I'm going to support my defensive line much more so than my defensive backs. I mean, you're looking at Auburn's a good defense, and A&M rushed for over 200 yards. So if I'm going to put all my chips in one area where I'm going to stop something, I'm going to let you kill me by the deep ball. I'm not going to let you kill me by running the ball down my throat and demoralizing me all game long. So I don't think we're at a point where we can stop the pass and stop the run. I just don't feel like we're there yet. So you're going to have to choose one. And look at Liberty. And my point to the whole thing is Liberty we stopped their pass. They didn't even try to run that much in the first half. The second half, they did try to run, and they did do it. So you just have to abandon your mentality of, hey, you know what? We're gonna have this cloud coverage, and you're not going to beat us in the pass, and we're going to try to get close enough to the line to where we can support the run. It's not working. We just do not have the Georgia line to be able to facilitate that. So you're just going to have to bring people closer, turn more into a 4-3 aspect or a 4-2-5 with Jake Springer much closer to the line. I mean, and try to have more people in the box. So I think that's the kind of what I pulled out of the Liberty game was you're going to have to abandon the don't beat me by the pass. It's going to be don't beat me by the run, and we'll do everything we can to survive that way.
Yeah, against LSU, they came out. LSU was a run-first team at that point. They just set the school record for rushing the week before against Florida, which now we found out that is not overly impressive. But Ole Miss's defense came out. They played a little bit different. They were able to man up against LSU. LSU ran for 72 yards. Now, A&M is going to come out. Isaiah Spiller is a heck of a running back. He is one of the best running backs in the country. Devin Achane is a speed back. He's a scat guy. He compares to Jerry and Ely. Now, you need to know where those are, and then they're going to try to slip a pass to Jalen Weidemeyer or Aeneas Smith. But they're not going to beat you with the pass game. They throw for about 190 yards a game, and they run for about 200 yards. So if you know that, focus on the run. Do the best you can. Get them the third down. I think that's the key to this game. If we can get A&M to third down to where our pass rusher can get cranked up, then we have a good chance to go because they have a little bit of issue on their O-line when it comes to pass defense, and we definitely have some pass rushers with 3 guys over 5 sacks.
100% agree. I think you got 2 great defensive ends. You're kind of light in the middle. You play 2 linebackers. Utilize those ends and just you all have one job, which is to come around the end and contain and sack, and then you just got to bring people up the middle, and you have to be able to. I mean, I just think we need to bring more people inside in the box because A&M. They've got a great rushing game, like you said, and if you know that's going to be their way of comfort of how they want to beat you, I mean, I think they're coached. They're probably one of the best coaches in the SEC. He's a old school mentality of run first and establish the pass through by running it. So. I mean, I feel like if you are going to play a team like LSU, you have their mindset. If you are going to get beat, you're going to get beat because they just outmanned you running the ball. And I think that was our mindset, was that we've got to stop the run. And I think that has to be our mindset, is that we have to stop this run. And I think from a coaching staff point, sometimes you have to take, somebody, it's like a double team. If you've got somebody that you're going to have a double team, essentially you feel like, all right, this person, this other guy who can go one-on-one, hopefully he's going to be able to hold his own. And you're going to take pressure off of somebody else to put it on somebody else. That's what we've got to do, is we got to say, listen, guys, from a passing standpoint, we can't help you. We've got to put all of our focus and emphasis on stopping this run. So corners and safeties, your whole thing is you're going to island here. If you're going to play more of I would think like a 2-man, which is you go
2-man would not be a bad play. It would not against this team.
So 2-man is when you play close man-to-man coverage, you press up hard, you take your safeties, you put them over the top, and your main focus is run, essentially, and your you're funneling everything out to the sideline. And what this does is allows your safeties and it allows your corners to play close to the line of scrimmage. So, you're jamming, you're keeping your receivers off of, you're not giving them free releases. And so far right now, I mean, it seems like, we're giving our opponents the underneath stuff. And so the 2-man kind of keeps you from giving it underneath stuff. It's more of you're susceptible through, hitting the zones between the safety and the corners. Well, if that's the case, what's our two best, who are our best asset right now are our defensive ends. So if you're going to drop back and you're going to pass, if that 2 mud can give you some ability to create time for the quarterback to pass, but you're also keeping your guys close to the line, it helps you with the run. So I just feel like we've got to abandon this mentality of, we're playing in this new SEC football where everything's, air raid. Listen, people aren't. It's just like my our 2002 year. I think we were the number one pass. Defense in the country. Well, you want to know why? No one passed against us. They just ran against us. I mean, it was good. Please don't make me pass. I'll just run the ball. Like somebody was talking about Georgia today. They were saying how Georgia has such a high QB quarterback rating. It's because only time they throw the ball is when at very high completion throws because they're running the ball so much, and it works. So I just feel like for us as a defense, you have to know yourself. And right now, if we look at ourselves, we have to realize, listen, if we're gonna get beat, we're gonna get beat by getting the ball shoved down our throat. So I think that's what we have to do.
Yeah, and I think people need to realize, especially in the Ole Miss fan base, because there's a narrative that the defense is struggling stopping the run. The defense this year is about 10 yards per game better at stopping the run than they were last year.
Well, that doesn't say a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't say a lot, but they're only giving up 195, and when Wesley McGriff was here, they were giving up in the 230, 240 range. So they are better. They're only giving up 237 passing the ball. They're good against the pass, and that's just that drop 8 and the way it's done. The sacks are off the chart. Tackles for loss are off the chart. The red zone's better. The third down's better. All these stats, the defense is doing better. So there is progression from 2020 to 21.
Listen, I'm 100% agreeing with you. I think our defense has progressed so much, and where we have excelled, in my opinion, one is in tackling, and two is getting to the quarterback. So if you get to the quarterback, that's going to make everything much easier for your defensive backs and everything else. Where we have not progressed, and this takes time, is in your ability to stop the run from I'm going to go downhill and just physically take this away from you. And right now, we just aren't there yet. And one, it's because, again, if you have this 3-2-6, you want to have what Georgia has. You want to have just pure beef. And it's not so much your defensive ends. Your defensive ends are still really solid guys and big. It's that because you have so many outside, so many other guys, you can take speed off the edges. You have such big people that you can create a brick wall with just 3 guys. We just don't have that yet. So I think, that's why I think we have to kind of, I think against LSU, I think we did make a change to it. I think we did try to bring people closer to the line, but I just feel like we're not there yet where we can just rely on this 3-2-6. We've got to make it more of you got to have somebody else down there to help secure that line. I mean,
yeah. One thing people don't need to realize, now we are very, very undersized this year, especially on the edges.
Right.
In the future, like what we're recruiting to, we have a commitment right now from a guy who's going to play nose guard who's 360 pounds. Sam Williams' position is going to have Taiwan Malone, who's close to 300 pounds. That's beef that once they get going. And on the outside, they want to recruit two Jake Springers instead of having a former cornerback playing a box linebacker.
So that is my point exactly. What you're saying about who we're recruiting is recruiting to that defense, to where you have big, beefy, athletic guys on the outside and just one huge, massive human being on the nose. You take your linebackers, you keep them close. You take you take really athletic corners. You take some pretty nasty athletic safeties. Bring them down to be able to play a hybrid linebacker, safety, and cover, and then you just blitz like missiles. That's exactly what you want in theory. We just don't have that yet.
Yeah, we have to recruit to it. And there's players like Jalen White. We got a commitment from Jalen White out of Little Rock. He's a 6'3", 200-pound guy that plays quarterback in high school. 10 years ago, or when you played, he would not play D1 football. But now, when it comes to modern football, there's a place for him in these hybrid positions because of what's happened. Because what you have is going to have an extremely long guy that's going to be 6'3", 6'4". He's going to grow to 215, 220. You're going to put him at box safety, and he's going to be able to run a 4.4, 4.5. That's what you're looking for there. But this is somebody that, like 10, 15 years ago, probably wouldn't play Power 5 ball.
So it reminds me of his name just dropped out. He played at Auburn, played years with the Cardinals.
Dansby?
Carlos Dansby.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was Carlos Dansby.
Mm-hmm.
So he went to Auburn as a receiver, a tight end, and then look, he just grew into a tree.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And those are a lot more. Those are a lot more now because there is such this defenses and offenses have evolved in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you need to do it because they need to put more defensive backs on the field because if you put big bodies out there, these spread offenses just victimize them over and over and over again. That's what they're trying to get away from. And then the defensive backs, you just need somebody that can also fill the role of that outside linebacker on both sides, but also can cover back in coverages. Like whenever you guys implemented the 4-2-5, that nickel position, now there's just two of them. That's all it is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you in the beginning of the segment you mentioned the receivers, Jackson and Plumlee and their progression, and I wanted to say that I can now see why they're trying to feed Jackson the ball. You could tell he's extremely explosive, and he has his ceiling is extremely high. And then Plumlee, you saw a progression in him. Yeah, he dropped the ball. I think he made maybe a bad read, but like we talked about in the beginning of the year, is a lot of these guys, they're not playing. They haven't played. You've got to work them in. You've got to get them going. You got to get them experience. And I think that Plumlee, in particular, he had 7 catches for 110 yards, and Jackson had 6 catches for 126 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think what's going to help us offensively for A&M is, putting Plumlee in at the quarterback position and taking pressure off of Corral. And I think the one thing that I took away from this game against Liberty was that Matt is a sitting duck. He is such a competitive player that he's going to try to do whatever it takes to win. But with that being said, you don't want him to have to leave the game and not come back because he's hurt himself. And A&M's got enough players to where he's not going to be able to do what he tried to do against Liberty. He's going to get harassed a lot more. he's going to get pushed in a way that he doesn't want to get pushed physically. And so I just feel like they're going to need to put Plumlee in a quarterback position and use the run more. I mean, you're just going to have to try to take pressure off Matt. I think that is going to be the key to how well we do offensively is how we can keep Matt upright and keep the defense from teeing off on us and, utilizing what we have. Because if you just say, hey, listen, Matt, we know you can't run. We don't want to hurt you, but you're going to have to run. Then, it's just it's not going to help anybody.
Yeah. What I honestly think about, if we had the Matt Corral that started the Tennessee game, we'd be a 5 to 10 point favorite in this game, because his ability to run would just give that defensive line fits. He's like a plus Bo Nix, and Bo Nix does like the crazy backyard football thing. Matt Corral seems to do efficient backyard football things, and I think that would give that defensive line problems.
Oh, well, 100%. And I think that, if we had our healthy receivers, it would take pressure off of Matt's ankle. Matt's having to feel like he has. I mean, he must be hungry.
Yeah. I think he wants to get let out.
I think by Matt not having his security blankets and what he's really needing, he feels like he has to do more, and that's what scares me about his ankle. And so that's why trying to take Plumlee and put him in that position, giving him rest, not taking him out of the game, helping him not feel like he has to do it all, is going to help. And I think that with Plumlee and Jackson starting to feel more comfortable, I think it's starting to help. I think that will help them. I mean, obviously, if you had a healthy Matt, not only does it help you in our pass game, but where it helps you the most is in your run game. And I think that's where he is so dangerous, because if you don't have your receivers but they know you can run, they still have to spread out wide, because you can still do your RPOs. Right now there is no RPO, and that's what's scary for Matt, is that he can't run, so you don't have to respect that. So that's why I feel like he's in a dangerous position if you put him out there and tell him, listen, I don't want you to run. Well, that's like telling a dog, not to chase a cat. It's just not going to happen. And then when he gets hurt, it's like, man, I told you not to run. Well, you put me out there. I got to do its best, for the team. Well, sometimes what's best for the team is for you not to do your human nature, is kind of pull back and have self-control. So, I think he is the best quarterback in the country. I think that this year he's taken everything that has been given to him, and he's only a few times has he made some decisions that he should not have made. I think this year, if I was going to draft somebody, I would draft him solely from the standpoint of not only the athletic, ability he has and arm talent, but the fact that you can see progression, the fact that you can see growth, the fact that you're seeing that he is learning to take what the defense gives him. And that is so important. He has been a great game manager and take the game over and being in complete control of a game. That's where you separate superstars from good players, and that's what he's done. And if we had our receivers and we had a healthy Matt, I wouldn't worry about our defense. But that's not the case.
Yeah, and we're playing number 11. College game day is going to be there. It's going to be a huge day. They're going to sell the place out. All the stuff's going to happen. They're going to make it as big of a game as humanly possible. Thank you, Bill, very much for joining us this week. We'll catch you next week, bud.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Howdy toddy.